What's going on, guys? Welcome to the video. So throughout the course of my YouTube career, if you want to call it that, I've never explained the origin story on what led me to want to create this company, create this apparel, create this brand, create this vision, the Conviction clothing line. In order to do that, I gotta take you through a little backstory. So if you see my videos, you know I've always been that kind of disciplined, hyper-driven, hyper-focused person, and that doing that, it gives you a level of respect from other people around you. And then subsequently, that level of respect when you're a young age, a young guy like myself, it tends to compound over time. And then with more respect, more validation, you start to think more of yourself. If you've ever heard the expression delusion of grandeur, that's kind of what I had coming up in my 20s, in my early 20s. I'm not gonna say I was a narcissist, but I thought more of myself than realistically should have. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's bad to be overly confident, have extreme self-belief, but there's a level that you need to balance. Coming into my mid-20s, I was kind of riding a high and using that same self-belief, using that same confidence, only in the wrong facets, the wrong manner. I wasn't a genuine person back then. I would just be more of a narcissist and use my speaking ability, use my presence or anything that I had in mind and try to get one over on somebody in an indirect manner. Honestly, I didn't even know I was doing that. I was just trying to climb that corporate ladder, like if you wouldn't have seen my previous videos, and I would just use my presence, my self-belief, try to use it for the betterment of solely myself. Throughout the course of time, that kind of rubbed people the wrong way, rightfully so. I would just look around and judge people how they were doing stuff and reflect it upon myself and think more of myself, which I shouldn't have at the end of the day, because I was being super judgmental, and I realized that. And so I proceeded to take that initiative and that pride and essentially call people out on what I deemed was wrong, what I deemed was unjust. And I thought more of myself. I thought I was this benevolent person just constantly fighting injustice, and realistically, it might have felt that way at that time, but it wasn't that deep. Try to like reason with me, I just didn't really believe them. In one ear and out the other ear. And that's because I wasn't ready to listen. I had that same self-belief, same overconfidence, and kept doing the same thing, seeing injustice or what I viewed as injustice, and try to combat that, thinking I was benevolent, thinking I was super prideful. And that's the thing that I learned. Pride is the enemy. Obviously you want to have pride in yourself, but when it comes at a detriment to other people, what does that actually give to you? Because like I said in my previous video, the law of attraction, you attract what you put out. And if you're putting out all this negativity, you're putting out all this injustice, or trying to be super righteous and benevolent, and subsequently you're demeaning other people or shunning other people, what do you get in return? One day I called somebody out directly in person, eye level. There was no going back from that, because I essentially cut out a relationship, undermined a person because they thought something differently than I did. And then a few hours pass and we go down and start doing work, and then this is where it gets kind of weird. So I'm a pretty quiet guy, pretty introverted, and I kind of keep to myself, and then I'm doing my work pretty much in silence after that whole dramatic fiasco, and I hear this whisper. I hear this voice whisper in my ear extremely vividly. And I'm not super religious. That's one of the reasons my past relationship didn't work out, because I just wasn't really religious. Because coming from my super religious background, I kind of kept that in the back burner, kind of try to focus on me internally, you know, having that free will. And then that whisper, it whispered vividly, quit. And I looked around like, did somebody say that to me? Is somebody right next to me? It was the craziest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. I still don't know what it is. It could have been a manic episode. I don't know. It was extremely vivid, and it was extremely real. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I still get goosebumps to this day. And then I followed that wish's command, and I went up, then I quit. I went to my manager's office, shook his hand, and left. Over the course of a day, I get a couple calls back, and I don't answer them. I retreat to my own thoughts, retreat to my own safe place, myself pretty much. And then the following day, I get the courage, and I call them back. And then they tell me, because of the person you are, we're willing to overlook everything because I've been causing an uproar, causing a scene because of my pride, and subsequently undermining the whole entire big picture because I was so wrapped up in my head and wrapped up in my benevolence that I thought I was the only person that could fight all this injustice, which wasn't really the case. Looking back now, they take me back. I'm open to them about my struggles. I do the right thing of asking for some time off, taking that month and just reflecting on everything and just being at peace with myself and trying to learn and better myself. I come back, come to a different shift, different group of guys, at a fresh start, clean slate, newfound perspective. I go throughout those 6 months kind of with a clear head, realizing it was probably my fault. I put all this pressure on myself when I didn't need to, because of my youth, because of my arrogance. And then I have one of those, like I said in my first ever video, I have the craziest conversation with one of my managers, and we're talking about life more than work for an hour straight. And if you know me, I'm not much of a vocal guy myself, so sitting down for 5-10 minutes, let alone an hour, is just unheard of. Like I said in my first video, he says the most profound saying to me I've ever heard in my entire life. He tells me, you need to stay true to your beliefs and be firm with your conviction. And right when he says that, my whole world, my whole perspective shifts, and I look at him and I tell him, I'm gonna remember that. And a year later, that's when I started everything. Started the social media, had this calling, had this urge to start this, that conviction clothing line. Because even though I was in the wrong about how the way I acted, I was also in the right on thinking that way. But I just didn't know that people are only going to change when they want to change. And people are only going to listen when they're ready to listen. And it takes time. So patience is a virtue, as the saying goes. And the more that I go through life, the more I start to believe in these messages. I don't know if it's divine intervention, manifest destiny, or whatever it is, but going through all that adversity and then having that voice, that whisper tell you to quit, that was a message then and there, and it led me to all of this. And then even in this end of this relationship, all these signs, all these messages, truth be told, I wasn't being super genuine. If you would have seen my previous videos, you know about my dating history, the past and all that pride that I've obviously had, and I feel like that pride clouded my judgment, and I never really cheated, but I was on that path if I kept following that same routine. And then all those signs, all those messages started happening in that same day. And again, I don't know if it's God speaking to me or whatever, but I felt like that was a sign. I felt like that was a message that I wasn't being genuine. Not only to her, but to myself. And that's what this signifies too. Conviction. I need to be more convicted in myself, be more genuine with myself. Because at the end of the day, the person that you spend the longest time with is yourself. Try not to lose their respect. I'm a firm believer in change and evolving. And so, along with the whole entire conviction line evolving and changing, I'm gonna evolve and change with it too. I'm gonna be even more genuine going forward and trying to spread that message too. And that's the whole meaning behind this, the whole origin story and why I created this. All those signs and all those messages have led to this. Conviction clothing. I'm not gonna say it's coming soon, but it's coming down the pipeline. Whenever I get this sign though, whenever I get that message, that's when I'll release it. And once I fully finalize the design, so that was a little origin story on the Conviction clothing line. I hope I gave you guys some clarity. Hope I inspire you some of you guys, because I don't know where this is gonna pan out. I don't know what the future entails. I'm not a mind reader, I'm not a fortune teller. In life, you could choose the person that you wanna be. I'm choosing to be more genuine. I'm gonna stay true to my beliefs and be firm with my conviction. That's what you should do too. As always, if you rock with this message, be sure to like and subscribe. I upload 2 times per week. And as always, it's been your boy Coach Ed. See you later.